What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reality Miniverse podcast, where I'm talking to a bunch of reality TV adjacent people, and I've got another great guest for you guys today. But before we get to him, I want to give you guys some advice to help me. If you're on YouTube right now, a great way to support me is to hit the subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. And if you're on a podcast app, 5 stars goes a long way. And if it's Apple, you can leave a couple nice words. That wouldn't hurt either. This is a new podcast, so the more that stuff in like the early phase really kind of helps out. So wanted to give you guys a heads up on that up front. But I'm super excited to be talking to a guy that usually I'm talking to people that I watch on TV. This is somebody I actually got to play with and interact with. So I'm super excited to bring on somebody that is a staple in the LRG community. He is the host of Survivor Lake Fort. He was player 404 on Squid Game's The Challenge, and he is the winner of Child's Play Recess Rumble. Here he is. It's Ned. Ned, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Ned, I want to know first and foremost, how are you adjusting? Because this, for me, it may be, especially for like a 1 to 2 day game, probably the most exhausting game I've ever played. How are you adjusting back home?
Yeah, I mean, it was seriously exhausting. It was about an 8-hour drive back, so didn't get to rest for a while. And I'm in a new house right now with no furniture other than this bed. So it's been a lot of shopping around, so haven't been able to rest that much.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the cabin after our game was the first thing you were going to buy is furniture. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that endeavor for you. It's so crazy because Ned, I feel like maybe we have been like orbiting each other for a long time. I've noticed after like stalking you a little bit, we've got so many mutual friends, a lot of like mutual games even. So, I want to know first and foremost, like, what is it that like attracted you to live reality games or just reality TV in general? Like, what was like the origin of this? Because it's clearly a big part of your life now.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I didn't watch Survivor until I was like a junior in high school, so it hasn't been that long. But I just fell in love with the game. I thought it was so interesting, and when I watched it, I was like, man, I think I might be good at that. So through that, I mean, I actually didn't know what LRGs were. I played a lot of online games in high school and college. And then I put all that behind me. I was like, that's too much of a time commitment, too stressful. And it wasn't until I was actually out of college when my friend Phil Rich was like, hey, I played this Survivor game last year. You should check it out. And then I was kind of introduced to this whole world that I didn't know existed. So it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, and then you throw yourself into hosting, which is cool. Do you want to talk about Survivor Lake Fort a little bit up front here? Tell me about it, because I really I hadn't heard much. I'm excited to like check it out more and maybe other episodes.
Yes, yeah. There are episodes. We're on YouTube. It's really interesting. So I actually started my own allergy before I knew allergies existed. I put on like a birthday party for a friend in high school that was Survivor. And when I was telling my friends about it in college, they were like, why have you never done that for us? And I was like, sure, I will, but let's make it like a 2-day thing. And so we did. And it went so well that I was like, man, I really wish I had like filmed that. So the following year, we filmed it again. And then ever since then, it's just been an annual thing. And the production's gotten bigger and bigger every year. It used to just be like my friends, but now most of the cast are people I've never met before. So it's been a cool evolution, and we're getting ready to do season 8.
Cool. Yeah, super excited to check that out. And I want to ask about Squid Game as well. I got to be honest, Ned, I didn't know this about you when I met you this weekend. You seem so humble about this stuff. You don't wear it on your shoulder. So I'm dying to know, like, how did you get into Squid Game? I guess through Survivor, but like, tell me about that process. What was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, I was literally on Twitter, I think, and I saw an ad, and it was like, "Do you want to play Squid Game?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." Because when I watched the Korean show, like I know it's so brutal and violent, but my first thought was like, "Man, I would love to like play these games. It just looks fun." So I got the chance to do that. I mean, I was playing to win. I really could use that $5 million. So I wasn't trying to be a TV character or something, which is why I wasn't really on TV much. There's a few scenes that I'm in, and my name is dropped on Netflix, which is pretty cool. But I'm like, I wasn't out there to be a character. I was out there to win.
That's totally commendable. My good friend Chapman Sweet was on the game as well, and that was kind of his story as
Yes,
well. He was like, "I'm not here to shake it up. I want the money, baby."
exactly. I love Chapman. We became friends in there. We got out at the same time, so it was cool to hear that he was also into LRGs.
Yeah. So, what was like the highlight of Squid Game for you? Was there like a favorite moment that you had or a favorite game that you did?
For me, I think first of all, red light, green light was the hardest thing I've ever done. And if you
Okay.
talk to anyone who's on that show, they'll tell you the same thing. It was, I think it should be classified as torture. It was horrible. It was painful. It was completely just a test of mental fortitude. Um, but I think my favorite part was the aftermath of Battleship. Our team got decimated. We just got wiped. And fortunately, just because how the rules worked, those of us who survived on our team were able to move forward. So there were only 6 of us on our team of like 14 people who survived that game and got to proceed. And it really like trauma bonded us, and we became so close. And I just remember after the game, we were just like crying because we loved our team so much. And then it was just the 6 of us left. But yeah, you get really, really close to those people in there.
Yeah, I can imagine. So let me ask you this: you play these LRGs, you play Squid Game, right? You go through these like grueling tests. You say red light, green light's hard, again, I think Child's Play was really hard. Is there anything you do to like prepare for a game, right? Like you seem like a physically fit dude. Like, do you have any advice for people as far as like conditioning for games like this?
Dude, I don't know. I think like I wish I could tell you like yeah, practice this, practice that. I've never practiced for like any game that I've played or anything. I just happen to be really good at puzzles, and I feel like I'm pretty athletic and agile. So I think those skills specifically really help in LRGs, which are very like agility, speed, and puzzle heavy. Those are just these things that I'm good at, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it never hurts to practice like slide puzzles. There's an algorithm to it. So if you figure out how that works, you can become good at those. Same thing with just like jigsaw puzzles. Just look for patterns and see if you can kind of get better at putting puzzles together. That'd be a good tip.
Okay, well said. All right, well let's move on to Child's Play a little bit. How did you hear about it first of all, and like what was it that made you decide that like this was definitely one you want to play? Because I don't know, for me when I'm like I really shop carefully for LRGs, right? I'm really cautious about what I pick and what I play. So what was it about this that appealed to you?
Yeah, I mean, big fan of Hunter, of course. And I think just like on Reddit, people were talking about it. They were like, hey, this game's coming up. Hunter's opening it up to the public for the first time ever. So just when applications open, I submitted an application, and I found out that my friend Melissa was also playing, or she had also applied. And so I think her getting on helped me because I think Hunter asked her like, "Is there anyone you know that you would like to play?" And she threw my hat in the ring. So I think that helped me get cast. But it was a super fun experience. And I'm like, I love LRGs. I love the voting component, but that all is so like stressful to me. So I was like, I would love to just do an LRG where it's just like challenges, and I just could go have fun.
Well, it sounds like you found one that suited you. I definitely, and I'm curious, like, as far as your expectations, because for me, I was kind of maybe expecting something a little bit more social. Do you think that, like, it lived up to your expectations, if there were any?
Yeah, I mean, it really did live up to my expectations. I mean, it exceeded them in every way. My expectation, I think, the way Hunter had portrayed it, or I had seen it portrayed, was a cross between Squid Game and Survivor, which I feel like that's exactly what it was. There were challenges where you could get eliminated from, which I'm used to from Squid Game, and then there's challenges where you vote people out and you win immunity, just like Survivor. So I thought it was a really cool balance of both.
I love that it seemingly you got to play a bunch of brand new Squid Games because you were on Squid Games, right? But the games that Hunter picked were not the ones from your season, right? So like you
Right.
got to like experience these new games fresh, that's how I felt playing things like Mingle and whatnot. But let's start with the first challenge, which was our fire making challenge. I want you to talk about like what team you were on and what role you played in that challenge and how it went for you.
Yeah, so coming into this game, I knew fire making was going to be an element of it, and I am pretty confident in my fire making abilities. I've competed in 2 fire making challenges playing LRGs, and I've won both of them. So I am like, I know I can make fire with Flint, and so I wasn't worried. We got put on a team. I got put on the purple team. All great people. I loved my team, and those are honestly a lot of the people that I stayed closest to throughout the entire game. I think everyone was just really excited to just get a fire. It's a really cool thing that you see on TV. And I didn't want to be that guy that is like, actually, like, let me do this, because this is all their experiences too. I don't want to just be the guy who's like, no, let me make this about me. Because if someone else on my team gets to make their first fire, like, that's a really incredible moment that they get to have with them for the rest of their lives. So I didn't want to steal that. And I was confident in their abilities to do it anyway. So, and we won, or we were in the winning group of 5. So it was worth it.
Yeah, you're so much nicer than I am, because my thought process was, I know how to make fire, and I would like the fate to be in my hands, ideally. So I stepped up for fire in this.
That's so
but
fair.
yeah, we were safe either way, so that was cool. And this is where the game really starts. I think we kind of usher into like the main play area, where there's like the stage and the voting area and the treehouse. And this starts a very long, what I feel like was maybe 2 hours of strategy on which of the 5 teams we were going to vote out. And it really seemed to come down between 2, orange and green. Tell me about your thoughts on the strategy session, and if you had like a preference on which team you wanted to go.
Yeah. So it was so difficult because we get to the strategy area and you're not voting out 1 player, you're voting out 10. And you are talking to people who have maybe like, oh, my wife is in this group, or oh, my best friend is in this group. And then all of a sudden it's just this web, and you're trying to figure out what group has the weakest connections from the mass. So it was really difficult. I didn't want either green or orange to go. I would have preferred, the gray team had some really, really strong competitors. And so I was like, why don't we go for them? There's a reason their name isn't coming up at all, and that's because they're very well connected. But when you hear that the tide is not going that way, it's never smart to keep hammering it. So I backed off. It seemed to settle between green and orange. I had friends on both teams. I had Tony on green. Sorry,
You're fine.
Siri thought I was talking to her. And then, maybe she's talking. Yeah. And then on orange team, I had Melissa. I had some other friends. So it wasn't like I'm gonna pick my favorite friend. It was kind of just like evaluating the teams. More people in orange came up to me and expressed interest in wanting to work with me. Some of these connections went all the way to the end, which was really cool. So unfortunately, I had to start kind of pushing against green team and trying to push against the team that my friend Tony was on, just because I thought it would benefit me more in the long run. And that's the team that ended up going home. And Melissa campaigned her butt off. Like, she should be on Big Brother, because she like flipped that vote around. That was amazing.
Yeah, social queen for sure. I was also in the same boat. I don't know if we've said this, but there was a component to this game where you got to organize where you're going to stay, and we were in a cabin together, and we had like a group, and it seemed like kind of like the most experienced LRG players in one group. And you're right, Tony and Melissa were in there, and the vote kind of, in my mind, again, it came down to kind of like Tony or Melissa, which sucked. And I didn't ever want to think of it that way. I was kind of like, you were thinking red or gray. I was over here thinking red. I was like, can we do anything else but this, guys, please?
Yeah.
But I ultimately voted green as well, just because I also had a couple other connections on orange. But yeah, poor them. That was tough.
That was really tough. I felt bad.
Yeah. Well, let's move into what was my favorite part of the entire experience, which was Mingle. This was it was really crazy. Hunter had set up what looked like I don't know what you call it from Midsommar, like the post and like the things like flowing out of it, but it was like Mingle. It was yeah, it was outside. He had the music and everything and lights, and when the music stopped, the lights changed, and he had to run to your platform just like the Mingle in the show. I just had so much fun with this. I was in the casting process for Squid Game season 3 coming up, and I was very close, and I didn't get on, and it was kind of heartbreaking. But playing Mingle kind of made up for it. I was like, I feel like this was the experience that I was supposed to have. So I want to know what you thought about Mingle and how you did.
Yeah, I mean, Mingle was so fun. I'm so glad I didn't have to play it on Netflix because that looks stressful. Um, I think in my mind at this point, it had not really set in that I actually had a chance to win. And this was also my thought when I was on Squid Game. I'm like, there's still 100 people left. Like, I have a 1% chance of winning. I'm just gonna have fun. So that's where my mind was at right now. I was just like, I just want to have the most fun possible. And really, the way this game was structured was you didn't know if you got eliminated until you go back to camp. So we got randomly assigned teams, but we weren't told what team we were on until we were eliminated. And the first team to have 10 people eliminated got out. So you would leave Mingle, you'd go back to camp and just hope that there's like nobody else on your team out yet. So at that point, I was like, this is really not in my hands. Like I could make top 9 and still get eliminated. So I'm just gonna have fun. And it was so fun. We would hold hands and like skip in a circle. I was just grinning the whole time. I couldn't stop smiling. It was so fun. Like with the music, Hunter just made it so immersive. Like it was just amazing. And like whatever strategy I had, like just went out the window because you'd get a group of 4 or whatever the number is. You'd run to the hexagon, and then there'd be one person standing there, and you're like, okay, should we all 4 try to run to a new platform? So I think I was just really bad at this game. I think I lasted 3 rounds. Okay, actually, no, I was a bone picked with Chad. I defected from my team because I saw that all the platforms were full. It was running with a group of 4. It was like me, Drew, Taylor, and Chad. I saw a platform with 3. They needed 1 person. So I took off running, got there. I'm standing on the platform. We're trying to raise the ring. And then Chad jumps on the platform.
Oh, Chad, no.
I'm like, bro, like, I was here first. Like, that's how this should work. And so we tried to raise the ring, and they're yelling, we have too many. We have too many. Someone get off. Someone get off. I'm like, this is so dumb because I literally, like, I earned this spot, but, like, whatever. I'm not going to eliminate all these people with me. So I stepped off and I guess eliminated myself and then went back to camp. But my team carried. I got back to my seat, and it was only Sarah there, Asia's girlfriend. So we just hung out for a while, and fortunately the rest of our team did really well, and by the end of the game we only had like 4 people on our bench, so we were a pretty stacked team.
That's cool. I have no idea what team. Just to brag on myself, I did win Mingle. I made it to the top 7, which was like I was so proud. Again, this is like my win, right? So I had a lot of fun with Mingle. Also, I thought you're right. The strategy kind of went out the window. I love that Melissa was, she tried to big brain the vote initially, and she was also trying to big brain Mingle, but like it did go out the window as soon as we started because it kind of just mattered who you were standing next to. That was kind of my strategy. I was like, these people are not my friends. I don't know these people, but I'm gonna like because they're next to me. Those are the people I'm going with. So I had a lot of fun with Mingle. Mm-hmm. I guess we can move on to hide and seek. So I'll set this up. There were groups of 20, and there were 5 seekers and 15 hiders, and the seekers had to go into a maze and find the hiders and rip one of their flags off, and doing so would keep them in the game and eliminate the person they stole the flag from. This was another really again, it really kind of felt immersive to me. It goes a lot quicker than Mingle does, because we have those like individual games. But I want to hear about what position you had and how you played this.
This was honestly my favorite game.
Okay.
This was so fun for me. So when we basically drew a ball out of a bag, and there were 5 red balls, 15 blue balls. We were sorted into teams of 20. So before I picked a ball, I was like, okay, if I get a red ball, it's entirely in my hands. Like, I think I can outrun at least a few of these people. But if I'm blue, like, who knows who could get picked as a seeker? Could be the fastest people in this whole place. So I wanted to be a seeker. Fortunately, I was the first seeker to pull a ball. And I remember I was with Tevin, Sarah, Luke, who's Hunter's brother, and then another woman. I don't remember her name. I'm so sorry. But it was really fun. Like we were hyping each other up. It felt like I don't know. It felt like real life. Like it felt so intense when all the 15 hiders put on their little glow bands and then take off into the corn maze. And the music that was playing, it was like horror music, and you could tell when your time was getting close to the end because it would start like ticking like a clock, and it was so intense. But basically, we took off running into the maze. All five of us, we immediately split up. That was our strategy to kind of corner people in the back of the maze. Then somehow we ended up all on a group of five again. I think the paths converged, but then I hear someone yell, "They're running around to the front." I look over and I see this line of a few like blue wristbands coming around to the front, and no one's there to block them. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go intercept them. So I take off running to the right, split from the pack. I corner them. A few of them run back the other way. And then the only one left, unfortunately, is Lauren, who I got close to because she was staying in the cabin with us. And we kind of had like an unofficial pact that like we would try to help each other out. But I hear that clock ticking, and she's the only person I can see. I'm like, it's either you or me, Lauren. So it was heartbreaking. I remember I was like trying to corner her and grapple with her. She was feisty. She was like swatting in my arms and stuff. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing while I'm trying to grab her flag. I get it off in the last couple seconds, and then we just hugged because I felt horrible about it. But it was so fun. Like I felt like I was in a movie. It was awesome.
Yeah, I forgot about that anecdote with you and Lauren because I remember, bless Lauren's heart, she was such a good sport about that, right? Like she
Oh,
came
she
back
was.
and yeah, she took it well, so good for her.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm so thankful she was not mad at me.
And I so just for people tracking at home, I was a hider in this one. My strategy was to stay in between just other hiders, right? Just be in the center. If there was two over here and two over here, I want to be like right in the middle because as long as they couldn't get to me through the other people, so made it through that one as well. Let's move on to the next one, which is we get back to camp and there. Well, first of all, we get a reward, which I don't know if that's noteworthy at all, but we got energy drinks and toothbrushes, which that was kind of surprising to me. I don't think we get toothbrush
Yeah.
rewards, but
Hmm.
whatever. I took it. I was like, oh yeah, let's
Yeah.
go. Um, but anyways, they start playing this song. I did not know what the song was from. They're playing it on the loudspeakers, and it's on repeat for again maybe like an hour. Turns out this is a song from the show Matilda. And the goal was ideally we were supposed to be listening to the song. I was not. I did not pay attention to that song once. But it did turn into a quiz later on. There was like this was like a running competition where you had to run out, answer questions, come back. I agreed to do the longest run, but it was also going to be the last run. So we lost so that I didn't have to run at the end, which I was so thrilled about. But I want to know about you. What was this loop song challenge like for you?
Yeah, so I remember while we were sitting there listening to that song, I literally asked out loud. It had played like three times, and I was listening to it. I started singing along. I was like, guys, like, what if this is a challenge? What if you have to memorize this? And everyone's like, no. So then we stopped memorizing it. I think I just laid down and tried to nap. But I had a really great team. I was on a team with Melissa, Cody, Becca, and then a girl named Jenny who actually knew the song. And so once Hunter came back and he told us what the challenge was, we're all like, Jenny, can you please start singing to us? And so on the walk over, she was just singing the song like on repeat to us. Unfortunately, we kind of cooked the challenge. We forgot to get a block a few times. We went to the wrong station a few times. And so we ended up having to run a lot more than we expected to, having known the song. But in the end, it didn't really matter. There were two teams that were just far and away. Like, I guess they were in theater in school or something because they just knew this song and they just beasted it. So it was fun.
Yeah. So this takes us into our second like vote, which to be honest, I wasn't too worried about this because there were already some whispers that like people were going to target yellow, and I was like, you know what, I think win or lose, I'm probably going to be okay here. But I'm curious about this. Was a really interesting one. It was kind of like a tale of like normal players versus survivor players on the gray team. There were two survivors,
Mhm.
and Sam in particular on the yellow team wanted the survivors out. So that was kind of his strategy here, and it became like a shouting match at like the tribal council where they're kind of like yelling their cases back and forth at each other. But what their arguments were: one, Sam's team, the yellow team, they had some people that they felt like their hearts weren't completely in it or something like that. And then Sam's argument was that they were survivor players and they needed to go. So I'm curious where you fell on this line here. Did you have a preference?
So I really didn't. I didn't really have any ties to yellow, and so I was fine with yellow going. Um, I had some loose ties, but they weren't as deep. I had a guy Brady on the green or gray team, who I was close with because we were on the fire making challenge together. So we had each other's back the whole game. So in my mind, it came down to if we have another vote, who will go to bat for me and who will try to vouch for me. And so I was like, I kind of want to keep Brady. Tevin almost turned that around for me. I almost went up and voted out Gray because of his speech. Rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Um, there were some words said that were kind of like, y'all came here to play with survivor players. If you want to play with each other, you can do that back at home. And I was like, that's kind of haughty. I didn't come here to play with any celebrity. Like, it's great that they're here. And I love meeting them. Like, they're like great people. They're really fun to talk to. But I'm like, I would have played this if it was all just like civilians, you know? So I was so close to go up there riding Gray. But in the end, I was like, no, I need Brady around. So I went up and voted out yellow.
Yeah. And I'm going to admit this. I haven't told Sam, who is a good friend of mine. He lives here in Nashville. I have not said this to him. He does not know. But Sam, I did vote you out here, and I'm so sorry. I felt really bad about it. But it was a similar situation where I was kind of worried about the other people on his team and if they were going to be strong moving forward. And I was worried about getting stuck on a team with somebody that was sick or didn't feel as invested. But all of that did not matter because this next competition is where I go home. This is the sun is starting to come up now. We've played through the night all of these games, and now we're doing it is like an obstacle course relay where at the end there is the classic staircase puzzle where you're putting the different steps in and they have different size holes. So I'm curious, can you tell me what team you're on, how you did, where you fell in this, and any other anecdotes?
Yeah, so I was on the blue team, which was pretty stacked. Like, everyone on this team was just really like physical and smart, and so I was feeling really confident going into this challenge. Some of my teammates actually came up with a great strategy. So at the beginning of the challenge, you had to untie. You could either run all the way to the end, like through a mud pit, and look at the first step, like the first pattern for the step to come back and find that puzzle piece. Or if you wanted, you could untie a puzzle piece and just bring it with you to the end. And if it's wrong, you just leave it there and you have to go back and get a right one anyway. They decided to untie the first puzzle piece and take it with them. I initially was against this because I was thinking we're going to waste time at the end if every person has to double check if the puzzle plank on the ground already, the end is the one that is next up. But it ended up actually saving us a lot of time because the knot untying took up a huge chunk of time, and those guys were really good at it. So they immediately just got two planks down, and that really, I think, set us ahead. And our strategy was to front load with our fastest people. And that was because if there were any mistakes made by bringing a puzzle plank to the end, they would be the fastest at running back and getting the correct one and then running back out. Whereas towards the end, if we have our slower people at the end, there will be fewer opportunities for them to make mistakes by grabbing the wrong piece. And I don't think any team really ended up making a mistake, so it didn't really make that much of a difference. But I do think it might have helped that our fastest people were just flying through it, increasing our lead in the other team, and kind of maybe making everyone else feel more hopeless. I don't know. But that was a tough one. The mud was gross, and I was hoping to keep my whole body clean the whole weekend. That did not happen.
I was in the same boat. I had avoided the mud in the first competition, and then there's no
Mhm.
avoiding it in this one.
Nope.
We were in a similar boat, obviously, where we were debating whether or not to take that first piece. And I mean, in hindsight, I feel like if we took that first piece, we'd probably still be in the game. I mean, I was advocating for that, but my team was, at least the majority of them were not down for it. I know some of them were on my side, but so I go out here and I say that I tied for 35th place with 18 other people, which is a crazy like game statistic to just say out loud, first of all. And also, I believe there's a battle back that kind of changes that, but I'm not going to pretend like that didn't happen. Um, but let's talk about the battle bag. Well, first of all, how was the breakfast? Because you guys get up to the top. At the top, there's a feast waiting for you guys. I never got to see what the spread looked like. How was it?
It was really good. There was some. It was like a hash brown casserole, delicious. There were cinnamon rolls, orange juice. Juice was amazing. Like we hadn't had anything to eat since arriving, so it was much needed. It was great.
Yeah. And then I also didn't see this part, but we kind of go up to a different area and we enter in like kind of a loser's bracket situation where we have to compete to earn our way into the battle back, which you're going to see later. I lose. There's like a color matching thing, and I couldn't do it. Like my brain was fried, so there was no shot in hell I was going to do that. So I don't get to participate in the battle back, and I didn't even get to see what it was like. What was it like being? I'm assuming you guys were still up eating breakfast, watching them playing. Is that how that played out? Tell me how that was.
Yeah, so I watched a couple rounds. I think the pairs picked numbers out of a bag or something to determine who faced off. But basically, two players would come up, compete against each other in a slide puzzle where you're trying to match the slide puzzle to a design that is presented to you. I think I saw one or two, and then I fell asleep on top of the platform, and I woke up after everyone had gone. So I missed almost all of it. I didn't know who got back in the game.
That's crazy. And I believe 14 people came back, which I thought was great. Is that frustrating to you where you're like,
Yeah.
you feel like you're at a certain point?
Yeah, that was very frustrating. I think all of us were like so excited that we made the top 36. Like that felt like a real milestone. After surviving the whole night, we're like, man, we made it so far. And they're like, actually, you only made top 50. And we were like, that's crazy because you made top 50 like 4 hours ago. But I'm happy that it gave people to have a more full experience. I know, especially those people who like voted out immediately. It's like they didn't get a whole lot of time to play the game. So I'm happy that they had a chance to come back and get some redemption because I know some of those people who got out earlier made it all the way to the end. So I'm really happy for them.
Was there anybody in particular, you can just say maybe one, that you were like stoked to see back?
Um, yes, my buddy Connor made his way back in the game. I was really happy to see him. I was really happy to see Shelly back in the game. I was friends with Shelly and Emma Grace out there. And when Shelly went home, I was really sad, and because Shelly was just such a nice person. But then she got back in the game, and I was so excited. I was like, "Yes, redemption for Shelly!" So
She was
yeah, it
on
was
my
fun.
starting team. I like Shelly too. She was cool.
Mhm.
Okay, again, like my knowledge of like this next half of the game is going to be a little weak. I have the names of the games you played, so I'll tell you those,
Perfect.
and then maybe you can tell me what they were like. So the first one
Yeah.
I have is odd shaped bottoms, which I don't
Mhm.
know what this is to be honest. What
So
happened here?
this was like a plank challenge. So we got sorted into new random teams. There are 5 teams of 10, and you 8 of you are attached by a rope in a line, and you have to transport these 3 really heavy planks and put them down on top of crates to kind of make a path. And it felt like you played Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It's like someone built a road in front of us, and we're like, "What the heck?" So now we got to go around. You got to find a new path on these crates. So we're basically trying to navigate on these planks to get keys, and then bring them back to our 2 puzzle solvers. Um, and unfortunately, just a couple of these teams were really, really fast. Like they would hit checkpoints before us and then block us off for like 2 minutes where we couldn't proceed. There was one point where we were almost back to the end with our key, and unfortunately, one of our team members accidentally touched the ground with their hand, and we weren't sure if like touching the ground with your hand counted. We were like, maybe it's only feet, so we didn't stop immediately. We kept going. Then after like 2 or 3 minutes, Hunter was like, "Oh, I heard you touch the ground earlier. Oh, you got to go all the way back." We're like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, so we knew we didn't really have a shot. Sarah and Connor, our puzzle solvers, they did the best they could, but um, Tiffany's team killed it. They like flew through both parts of that challenge. So they just did amazing.
So did this lead result in an elimination, or did y'all go to a vote after this?
This went to a vote, and my team was in hot water for this. I was on the blue team. It came down to us versus the red team. And I think a reason for wanting to go for the red team is because most of them were players who had just re-entered the game. So we didn't have as many ties to them. We hadn't spent as much time with them. And the blue team, we were in hot water because the survivor players were pushing us pretty hard. Tevin, Tiffany, and Randon wanted us gone. I think just because a lot of the people on our team were really like physically imposing. It was kind of a stacked team. So it was basically, and Randon was on the red team. So I understand why he wanted to go for another team, and Tiffany and Tevin wanted to protect him. Because I think at this point, they were the last 3 survivors remaining, maybe. And so they were pushing really hard for us. We were pushing back against red team, and it was really close. We were begging green and yellow to vote with us. And yellow was on board, and green was just like, who knows? But they ended up keeping us. So we're very thankful.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's talk about this next one, which is spelling bee. And I'm going to do a little side note here and talk about something that I have created a game based on Squid Games called Tentacle Game, where I adapted classic kids games into like online reality games. And one of them was spelling bee. So like it was interesting that Hunter and I both kind of had like similar ideas on where to go with this. But I'm curious about how this worked for you guys. I think the rules were different from when I hosted spelling bee. So when I hosted it, the way it worked was you got to pick whoever goes next and what word they get to spell. So if I liked you, Ned, I might pick you and say, hey, spell sand. That's really easy. Or if there's somebody I don't like, I'll pick them and say, spell automatopoeia, right? How did spelling bee work in the Hunter version, and did you enjoy this?
Yeah, so we got out to this field, and there were lists of words pasted on poles. And he was like, this is spelling bee. I immediately was like, let's go. I won spelling bees in school. Like, I've always just been really good at spelling. I don't know if it's from like I read too much or my OCD, but I'm just like really good at spelling. So I was so confident in this. I was reading those lists and I'm like, I know all these words, or okay, most of them. One of them was like sternocleidomastoid, but I'm like, I could spell that, or I could sound that out. I could spell it. So I was feeling so confident. And he said there are advantages scattered back at camp. And so most people apparently like did not feel confident in spelling at all. So like most of the group took off running into camp looking for these advantages. Some of them were like, you skip this challenge. Some of them were like, you get a second life in the spelling bee. I just stayed and studied the words because I was like, I don't want to get tripped up on an easy word. So I was studying the words. Then once we had enough time to study, we went back to another playing field where there were boxes in a circle, and we all sat on a box. And basically how it would work is you wouldn't spell a word by yourself. He would say a word, point at someone, that person would hold up the first letter, and then it would proceed clockwise where each person's holding up one letter of the word. He also told us that he wasn't going to eliminate people if they said an incorrect letter, but we would call each other out. So if I think you put up a wrong letter, I'll hold up a red flag, and then I say the correct letter. If I'm right, you're out. If I was wrong and you said the right letter, I'm out. Okay. So I was feeling very confident. I was like, man, I could call these people out. I can win this. But what happened was I think everyone was just so fried from not like sleeping and not eating enough that everyone just started like throwing up their red flags at like obviously correct letters. And I think people just didn't know where, like they got lost in the word. Like I remember Taylor, my friend Taylor, she's great at spelling, and she was feeling so confident in this challenge. And the word was amateur. And on like the third letter, she raised her flag. And I was like, what are you doing? That was correct. And she immediately knew when she put it up too. She's like, oh shoot, like I'm out. And that's how it went for the rest of the time. Like I was ready to raise my flag, but I didn't need to. After like 4 people eliminated themselves, I just put my flag down. I was like, this is just going to keep happening. And it did. So once 9 people were eliminated, the challenge ended and the remaining 24 of us went back to camp.
All right. Well done there.
Thank you.
Good job not eliminating yourself.
Didn't do much.
Yeah. So the next game, again, I don't know what this means. Pick a game.
Yeah. So
Yeah, tell me about this.
for this one, we were divided into 4 teams of 6. And I really liked my team. We weren't assigned, we were told there were going to be 6 different games we could choose to compete in. Each one of us would have to pick a game. So he would say, okay, there's like a speed one, agility, or speed, endurance. I don't know. One of them was
This
puzzle.
this
I was
sounds
like,
like pentathlon, right? Is it
yes,
kind of like that?
that's what we thought. So we were like, okay, where can we assign each person to like do the best for our team and like win the most points? So I said puzzle. I really love puzzles. Like I think I'm really good at puzzles. So I was like, I'll do the puzzle. And then no one wanted to do speed, and so we're just like, Shelly, you can do speed, because the rest of us felt really confident in different areas. Um, so then we go off onto our different groups or different tasks, and there's one person from each group, so there's 4 of us. When we arrive, they tell us, oh, you're not competing for your team. The last placing person in each group is out. And so it's like, oh snap. And the first placing person gets an extra vote in the next vote. So we get to the puzzle. It's me, Sarah, Mason, my friend from the beginning group, and then Anna, who I was on a team with in the ladder challenge through the mud that you were talking about. And the puzzle was this giant like Aztec face, so many pieces, and they were all just like triangles and squares. Like it was so hard. And half the pieces were blank, didn't have anything on it. So you kind of had to fill out the pieces that had stuff on them and then figure out the open spaces for the blank pieces. But I kind of flew through it. I got first, then Sarah finished. Then it came down to Mason and Anna, and Mason pulled it out. So Anna was eliminated, sadly. But yeah, then got back to camp, and we're like, oh, like 5 of our 6 team members stayed intact. I think this is where Mary got eliminated. Maybe I think Mary fell off a balance beam. That was sad. But we were like, and then Shelly got first place too, because it wasn't like a physical speed competition. It was like putting numbers in order. So we're like, oh, we got 3 extra votes if we have to vote. Like, this is great. We have so many votes. So now we're at final 18.
Yeah. So what happens? Is there a vote after this, or I think the next one here on my list is blind leading the blind, but I feel like maybe it's time for a vote or no.
No, so this is actually an immunity challenge. So we're putting to 3 new teams of 6. So yeah, we're putting to 3 new teams of 6. Then it starts pouring torrential rain. It's miserable. I'm like, dang it, now my shoes are wet. I avoided that this whole time, and now they're soaked. But before we get to the challenge, we're told, okay, one of you is the caller. The rest of you have to be blindfolded. So I believe it was Evan. Was it Evan that was our caller? Or was it Mikey? I don't remember. It was one of the 2 of them. Evan or Mikey was the caller. The rest of us got blindfolded, could not see a thing. They led us through the dark to a game site. Well, it was dark to me, I guess, because I had a blindfold. But we get to this challenge field, and basically 5 of us have to go out and do certain tasks to get a key, come back, unlock a box, and then the caller has to instruct 2 people to build this arch word puzzle. So really, it was all in the caller. The rest of us were just trying to fumble around and do what we're told. So I was told I was going to go into the mud pit to get a key. I was like, great, mud. But I couldn't find the mud pit. He was yelling at me, like, 42, go straight. And I would. And then I'd find nothing. I think I walked into the cornfield a few times, and then I would hear like nothing, because he's like obviously directing all these other people. I think Christian got a ring off, or his key, immediately. So everyone was doing really great. Happened to randomly find the mud pit, found a key immediately, went back. I could not fit it in these locks. And it's like, I've never done this before, like trying to unlock a lock blindfolded, but it was really difficult. I was struggling so much. The rest of my team was doing great. So we just let everyone else go before me. And then once I had the correct lock left, I was like, okay, well, now I can do this. So finally got it open. The team, basically how the teams worked out is I think our team was strong, and there was another team that was equally strong, if not stronger. And so we were terrified about going up against this team in the finals. So it ended up coming down to a race between our two teams. We heard them complete the puzzle first, but one of the tiles was flipped around, so it wasn't correct on both sides. So our caller was directing me and Shelly to kind of put these blocks together, and we made a very crude arch. It didn't look like an arch, but it like stayed intact, and so we had the correct configuration first. So then we got a dinner reward, which is nice. They served us burgers and watermelon. It was amazing. Then we went to a vote.
Gotcha. How did that vote play out? I'm curious about that.
So it was pretty, like the consensus was pretty, like we need to get rid of this stronger team. I think it was five like really tall, imposing guys, and then Sarah. Sarah was one of the people that I had gotten closest with throughout the entire game. And so I was like, this is really hard for me because obviously I want to keep her. But I think my best chance of winning is getting them out and leaving the not a weak team because they're all strong. They're all great competitors. They made it this far. But it was like there were more girls in this group. It was more like shorter people. It wasn't people that I'm like, oh, all of these people could beat me one-on-one. So that's unfortunately what the vote came down to. There were a couple people in our group that were like, we want to keep the like this really strong guys group. But I think most of us were on board. And so with a couple of our extra votes, we voted out that team and then made Final 12.
Gotcha. So what was like your perception at this point of what the final was going to be like? Because I think that for me, if I got to this point in the game, I would have been like, I don't know what's next. I don't know how this game ends, right? Like I wasn't sure if there was a jury or what. Like did it go down the way you expected this final?
It did. I had heard because I think 20 of the players this year were people who had played last year. And so they told us the way that it worked out last year is when they got down to the final 9, they were put in teams of 3 who had to compete in some obstacle course challenge. And then at the end, the winning 3 had to play a game of Prisoner's Dilemma to decide who out of the 3 would actually get the money. So, and I also heard the Hunter was really upset about the outcome of that last year because 2 of the players kind of teamed up against Asia. And it was actually an unwinnable game for her at the end. So I'm thinking he probably won't do that again. It will probably come down to an actual competition at the end because that's more fair. So, I mean, I was really happy with the group of 12 we had left. I was like, I would feel great about being on a team with any person in this group. I think all of them are like very athletic, very smart. And so I think I really would have been happy with any configuration. And then we drew buffs to get sorted onto our 3 teams. So that was a random draw.
Yeah. This was a lot of fun. I got to watch this one, so I kind of know how it played out a little bit more. But you guys crushed this this final aspect. I mean, you're going through like you're a bunch of obstacles. It seemed really hard. Like, how exhausted were you by the time you win and you're gonna do the card stack against your opponents? But like, did that like completely take it out of you, or are you just a machine?
No, I had like nothing left in the tank after that. So basically, the teams that were drawn, it was me, Mason, Evan, and Andrew, all just 4 like objectively athletic guys, strong guys, smart guys. And then there was a team of 4 girls who I was very close with all of them. And then there was another team that was 3 guys and 1 girl. So I anticipated, and this ended up being the case, there were a lot of portions of the challenge that involved strength. And unfortunately, I do think this challenge, it was so fun. I think just because of the way things were drawn, I think it was stacked against the girls. There was a very tall wall that we had to scale with nothing but each other. And part of it involved us literally pulling each other up, like with only our arms and our back. And like, that's so much just upper body strength. And I don't think, I mean, the girls weren't able to complete it. I felt so horrible for them. It was just an unlucky draw, and it was just a very physical challenge. There was lots of climbing over walls, digging under logs, untying knots, crawling under a net. The hardest part for me was one where I was kind of like a piece of furniture in it. There was this huge barrel
I remember
that
that. Yeah.
yeah, there was this huge barrel that your team, it was so heavy. Your team had to pick it up off of a giant pole. One of you had to get in it. You see where this is going. And then they had to push that person through the corn maze and then down a field. This is like probably a half a mile stretch. Um, and so I was the freaking hamster in this hamster wheel. And at first I thought like, oh, I can do this. They just wanted me in it, I think, because I was the smallest, like, and that makes sense. I don't blame them. It was heavy to push that thing, but I was in it. I was thinking, okay, maybe I can crawl on my hands and knees like a hamster. That just was not working. There wasn't enough room to do that, and so I'm like, okay, am I wet enough to just like curl up in a ball and maybe I'll just like slide on the bottom? No, I'm super muddy, but there's still friction. Like that wasn't working. So what I ended up having to do is kind of like I would curl up on my hands and knees on my side. And as the barrel would roll, I would throw my body against the front of the barrel to like push it forward even more. And then I'd do like a whole somersault and I'd land back on my hands and I'd jump off and push myself into the barrel again. And like when I stopped doing that, we wouldn't move. And so I'm like, this hurts so bad, but I have to do this. So I literally felt like I was in a washing machine. It was so painful, so horrible. I felt like I was going to throw up. So we get to the final puzzle and I just fall out of the barrel and I'm just laying there. I'm like, I'm about to like puke and pass out at the same time.
You looked drunk. I remember seeing you come out of that barrel and like, but there was also a look of like relief on your face that it was over.
Oh, so much. It was so horrible. But yeah, then we got out, did a puzzle. We had a very massive lead on the yellow team next to us. I think if we didn't have that lead, we would not have won. So I'm just proud of my team for really hustling through those obstacles and giving us that lead.
Yeah, so then you have to compete against your team in another kind of Survivor Classic, which is like a card stack, a House of Cards-esque. You know, you're trying to reach a certain point before anybody else. I want to know what your strategy was here. I mean, you were so methodical with it. Like, is this something you've done before, or like what? You were great.
Good question. Thank you. I played an LRG literally a week before I came out and played Child's Play. And this same challenge happened to be an immunity challenge in that game on a much smaller scale. And so I saw the successful strategy from that. And what people were doing is they were making like a V shape with the cards and then putting a third on top and kind of holding two cards in one hand, one in the other, making that V, sliding it on top. And it was quick, it was efficient, and it was steady. So I was like, I wonder if that'll translate to this. There's two things I'm confident in challenges, and that's puzzles and steady hands. And so I'm like, okay, first of all, I did this challenge last week. Second of all, I have steady hands. So I don't think, like, if it falls down, it's not going to be a mistake I made. It's going to be like I didn't build the stack correctly enough, and it's going to topple over. So at this point, I was like, okay, this $2,000 is very real. Like, this is very attainable. And I literally kept just thinking that to myself. I was like, $2,000. Like, I need a couch. I don't have any furniture. So that honestly powered me through the challenge. And yeah, it was kind of over before I knew it really started. Kind of just went to autopilot.
Yeah, you got it done. Like I said, you did a great job, and then you freaking win Child's Play Recess Rumble. That's like, what's that feeling like? I mean, out of 100 people, again, in the beginning, you're sitting there like, I don't have a chance. I'm just gonna have fun with this. Like, that has to be like the best feeling ever. I wouldn't know, but yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, it really was unbelievable. And it still to this day feels unbelievable. I mean, like 3 days later, feels unbelievable. Yeah, it was the same thing with Squid Game. It's like, this is something I'm going to do for fun. And I just want to have fun playing the challenges. I know I'm going to get eliminated at some point. Like, I think throughout the entire game, I literally said like, oh yeah, when I get out, because it was such a certainty, I feel like. I was even like, after 90 people, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going out next, but I had fun. It didn't really hit me that it was real until the final challenge. So, and it's just kind of unbelievable.
Well, cool. Congratulations again. You played a great game. Are you going to play again? Can we expect Ned and Child's Play 3?
I don't know if I want to play again. That was so brutal, and I think I like maxed out my luck. I don't think I can make it nearly that far again. Just 'cause, like so much of that game was luck. Like
Yeah.
the team you're assigned to was entirely luck, and that determined so many outcomes in this game. So I got very lucky. I mean, maybe in a year from now, my answer will change and I'll want to play again. But for now, I'm like, I would love to help out. Like, I know how much work goes into this, how much Hunter puts into it, and even like the volunteers. I mean, these setups were massive. They had to be out there working constantly while we were back at camp, wondering when something's going to happen. So I would love to just help and contribute behind the scenes too, if that's an option.
Well, cool. Yeah. What about other things? You did Squid Game. Is there anything else? What's next for Ned? Right? Do you apply to TV shows or no? You're not interested. You already scratched that itch or what?
No, I'm so interested. Like, if there's a Survivor casting producer watching this, like, please just hit me up. I mean, I apply every year. I've applied since I was 18, and man, I just want it so bad. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a call. Sent on my tape a couple weeks ago. So, hopefully someday.
Yeah. You got time. Survivor's not going anywhere, and neither are you. So,
Sure.
Ned, again, thank you so much for doing this. I'm gonna give you a chance. Is there any tell people where they can find you online, or maybe you can talk about where people can find Survivor Lake Fork, or anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, watch Survivor Lake Fork. It's really, I think it's fun. I put a lot of time into editing the episodes to make them fun. It's fork is in like the eating utensil. It's the name of a lake in Texas. But yeah, I guess subscribe to our YouTube. We're doing a fundraiser right now for funding season 8. So I can put the link to that in our Instagram bio. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. I'll even put it in the show notes of this podcast so people can find
Awesome.
it that way too if they want.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, that's all I got for you, Ned. Again, I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next time. Adios.
Thank you.